Okay, guess what? Guess what? K-Shed Uncuffed is back. I thought I'd throw a little combo intro action at you. Some knucklehead up there beatboxing, thinking he's part of the Fat Boys back in the days and stuff. And then I threw that in there. And then our trademark antenna intro that lets people know K-Shed has just walked into the room. He's sitting right next to me. Actually, he's right here doing the talking and all that stuff. Can you believe that? Yeah, it's great to be back. I'll tell you what, I've been wanting to do another episode for a long time, but man, it's been like super, super busy. We've been busting our butts to try to get our feature film, Iowa's Finest, ready to finally be shot. There's a lot of work that comes with that, getting the film ready, but the process has been fun, but highly involved and all that stuff still the same. But it's good to be back. Hope everybody's been doing well. Uh, I got K-Shed merchandise out there that's available to all those who've been supporting the podcast and stuff. And it's very reassuring that we keep at this. This thing's gonna blow up, and we're gonna keep reaching out. The advantage of this show is it's not really to stir up anything. It's just really just to kind of like help people just kind of like say, hey, you know what? It's okay being a good person. It really is. I mean, no one really has to go out in their days just wanting to be evil and just wanting to backstab people and all that stuff. Maybe it's a Midwestern thing. I don't remember the Midwest being as kind of like everybody against everybody as it kind of feels like sometimes down here in California. I mean, California is a high-paced, fast-paced place, crazy amount of people. Yeah, I get it and all that stuff, but I've always lived by the adage of loving when people do good things and when they accomplish their goals and stuff. I remember running track in college, and we would, I had some speed on me, I guess, and if I ran like the 200 or something like that, I remember being at the Kansas relays, and won the 200, and we got these cool Kansas Jayhawk watches. They're just really kind of, they weren't Rolexes or nothing like that, but they just were kind of shiny and kind of, a really cool design to it. And I was just like, okay, cool. The guy was just like, let me see your watch. And it was, they were all happy for me. And I just said, okay, yeah, it's cool. But the watch that looked exactly the same as that one that I loved and jumped for joy about was the one I won when I was part of the sprint medley relay. That was a fantastic race. From what I remember, it was two of us running the 200 first, and then I can't remember who ran the 400, but there's this one cat who uh, just I can't remember his name either. That was like 30 plus years ago, but he ran the 800, and it was such a tight race, and he brought it home in the last like 10 meters and stuff, and almost killed himself doing it, but and we were so like exuberant and just jumping up and down. It was so exciting. We were all hugging each other. It was just great. And I love that watch. When I got it to the house, I put it up on my little, mantle in my room or whatever, and just kept it there because that stood out to me more than anything. It was the team effort that brought that watch to me, and I'm all about the team. I hate people who are like selfish and just all about themselves. Hate them. Oh man, I wish there was some type of place to put those people. To be honest with you, I can't think of a nicer way to say it. They just bring too much evil to a world that's already tough anyway, But people who are all about themselves are y'all stay away from me. Put it that way. But K-Shed Uncuffed, this episode was created for a very special reason. I wanted to pay homage to a fine young gentleman, police officer who I had the pleasure of working with, Mr. Jeremy Rocha. I saw a photo of him where he's at work and he's talking a gentleman down off of a pole who was suicidal. And if you look at this photo, it's so intense because you can only see parts of the guy's legs. You can kind of tell he's not in the best of places in the world. Dirty socks and just you. And if you read the caption, I believe it says that he's a transient homeless person who just kind of had a bad day, and he tied himself on top of this utility pole and refused to come down. He was, contemplating suicide. And those calls happen more than I think anybody could imagine who hasn't been a police officer before. And they're very intense calls. I mean, it could go either way when you're dealing with someone who's having an episode like this. And so I'm looking at this photo. I'm actually looking at it right now. It's a beautiful photo. My guy Jeremy has his hair all slicked back, but who cares? That's not why he's in it there at that moment. He has his eyes transfixed, even though you can't see him. On the gentleman looking up there, his arms are outstretched, and you can 100%, especially when you know how Jeremy operates, he's doing everything he can to plead with this guy. Please don't give up hope. Everything can be worked out. Please, just trust me. Come on down, and we'll take care of you. I'm looking at this photo, and I've had so many different calls with Jeremy, and I've stood by and watched him use the magical word of his voice to talk people into believing in them and giving whatever the situation is a second thought, and then they're like, okay, I thank you for everything you've done. And from what I'm understanding, they were talking to this guy for over an hour, and I'm sure there was the scene had to been just so chaotic. You have to have fire trucks, ambulances all around, just staged and ready, because you just don't know what could happen. These are such dangerous situations, because if this person was really really determined to take himself out, but at the same time he wants to take out somebody else with him, the police officer is kind of like in a tough spot. If you look at this photo, it's hard to talk down somebody from the other side of the bushes or a wall or whatever. So you're kind of exposed out there, and you're dependent on, say, your other officers to watch your back, just in case this person has some type of hidden weapon. And it doesn't. I mean, it's very rare that would happen, but it does happen all the same. I mean, you read so many stories that of an officer trying to sit down and next to a suicidal person and having a good old conversation, then all of a sudden the dude pulls out a gun and shoots the officer in the head. It's one of the true dangers of being a police officer. And I'm so proud of him for what he's done and what he's been doing for 21 plus years at the police department. And he handles every call with the same amount of attention and focus as if he's dealing with a family member on each call. He really genuinely wants that person to be okay, and to kind of resolve the situation with as little craziness as possible. I remember Jeremy Rocha back when I was in the academy. It was me, Dan Nemi, and two other academy cadets from I believe the county, and one of them knew Jeremy, so they asked him if he could help us prepare for scenarios that were coming up. Jeremy took time out of his day, and I remember we were at the police department, and Jeremy came in, and I'm just like, whoo, man, this dude, look at this guy. He's like like the perfect prototypical police officer, man. He was funny, he was smiling, he was just a warm ball of energy, and you could tell he was very focused on helping us out. Just making sure he was there to answer any questions we may have, and and he really made us feel a part of the department already, even though we were still grinding out there at the academy. And that's the thing. I mean, because if you look at this kid, he has the chance to kind of do the good old boy thing, take that good old boy route, and thankfully he has chosen not to do that. He treats people fairly, everybody the same way, until you obviously do something to disrespect him or whatever. Then obviously he's going to take care of business, but he goes into every situation on a daily of treating people with respect. And I get emotional when I look at this photo, because my man was out there doing his job the way every police officer swears to do it. And he's been doing it like that for 21 plus years. And I wanted to do a show dedicated to him, because I miss those days. When I see photos like this, I'm all wrinkly and retired now. But, when I see photos like this, it makes me miss being out there, being bonded with them, because I'm not talking trash here. But if I look at the other officer who's with them, who's in the shot, unless my eyes are getting bad, but unless my eyes have gotten really, really bad, if I zoom in, it looks, I don't even know who this guy is. It doesn't look familiar to me, but it looks to me like his eyes are closed. So I don't know. I'm hoping I'm wrong on that one, but it's just the contrast of the look. Rocha's 100% focused, and it's so intense. You can feel it. What his responsibility is, and then I'll leave it at that. But anyway, that's the thing that I miss, is always making sure that the person whose assignment is to lock in and talk to the person who's having a kind of maybe like a mental episode, have their back, be ready to pounce if the person turns on them and all that stuff, and be ready to react, because if a police officer is wrong out there, it usually ends bad for them. So I wish all the police officers out there all the utmost safety. Keep doing what you're doing. This world would never survive if it was not for police officers. I don't care what anybody has to say about that. So on this photo, it reminds me, because back when I was a youngster, I would have 13, 14-ish or whatever. I can't remember what photo first started it, but I'm sure it was an Arnold Schwarzenegger poster when he was like the Terminator or something like that, or Commando or whatever. I would always see photos that just caught my eye, and I just was drawn to it for whatever reason. It didn't. It could be a variety of different reasons that I looked at this thing like, wow, that's super cool. And then I'd cut out that picture from usually even out of a magazine, and I'd put it on my wall. And and then before I knew it, it wasn't a big section, it's just picture like a picture frame, like an actual picture frame size of photos, collage of photos that's all in a circle pattern around that first original photo that I had. And I would always look at that every day, and something about each one of those photos inspired me. I remember just how strange things are. I cut out a picture once of Boomer Esiason. Everybody, hopefully still remembers who Boomer Esiason is. Monday Night Football analyst now. I don't know if it's Monday Night Football, but he's a NFL Sunday analyst, blonde hair. But this was when he played with the Cincinnati Bengals. So he's in his uniform, he's dropping back, and he has his trademark lefty release. But he looks freaking like a badass, and the color scheme, I think, caught me. Just that's Boomer Esiason anyway. He was super big. He's still super big. He's just a bigger than life name in the NFL. And just seeing that photo just in his intensity that he had in his eyes of, oh shoot, I need that photo. I can't even remember. Yeah, so I cut that thing out, put it on my wall. There are other photos and stuff too. Some things would be like there would be like funny comic strips if that I'd get from like Mad Magazine. There's this one where I remember distinctly. I put up there. It has like this cartoon sketch of a big old giant fly, and then he's talking to the waitress. And so at the bottom of it, it says, he's like, "You call this shit chowder? I only see two little dingleberries." And I would laugh. It was just the funniest thing, the way they said that. Mad Magazine comic writers were just like the best. They would come up with some crazy, crazy stuff. So back to the Wall of, obviously that was on the Wall of Fame, stuff like that. And so then there was another photo I remember seeing of this wide receiver who played for the Jets, and he's like long and stretched out. He's going all the way up for the for pass completion, and he's just jumping off the screen. Really, it was crazy. I'm just like, oh my god, that's a cool photo. Green's my favorite color anyway, so everything about that picture was like booming. So I cut that out. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is that because that guy in that photo was named Rob Moore. And so I cut out photos of these guys like when I was like 14, 15-ish or whatever, 16, I can't remember. But the funny thing how the world works is that I actually went on, when I went into the NFL, I was drafted by the Jets, and I ended up playing right next to Rob Moore, and the person who was throwing me footballs was Boomer Esiason. So I'm just like, what the heck? It's so trippy. I mean, memories, man, memories. That wall has since been has been kind of dismantled because we had a situation at the house where the fire or the kitchen caught fire. So there was smoke damage, smoke, throughout the house. And so my mom and dad had painters come on in and kind of, renovate the house or whatever you call it. And then they had to take everything down. And when I go back to the house now, I'm still mad at them because I look where a bare spot on the wall where my wall of fame was, and it's not there anymore. And I don't even know where those photos are. I would not be surprised if they didn't throw them away. And I'd be, but yeah, life is beautiful. And this photo right here, I'm still looking at it. My guy Jeremy, 100% would have gone up there on my wall of fame. It reminds me a lot of this call that I remember getting sent to back when I was out in the streets and stuff. Right before I went in to become a detective, one of the last calls I remember going to as a patrol officer was a call similar to this one that Officer Rocha was sent to. Basically, but this was a ascertain the welfare call about a Navy SEAL guy who lived in our city, lived in San Leandro, called his former commanding officer who was based out in Hawaii, and just sounded just like made some statements that really had the guy in Hawaii very concerned. He knew that the guy had just been retired from or been released, or however you would say it. I don't know exactly the situation, but he was no longer in the Navy SEALs. And as you would imagine, any those poor soldiers who goes from those type of lifestyles and stuff and environments, it's not easy to get acclimated into the real world again for a variety of reasons, and none of them are fair for the former servicemen and women. But it's the reality of it all. It takes them a moment to kind of like get all settled in, find a job, and all that stuff. And that's what the part of the details were when we got sent to this call with him. And so you could just kind of read it as saying that he's kind of, kind of in a tough spot. Finances aren't the best. Trying to get a hold of the VA. VA's not able to kind of get his benefits all going. So he's really struggling on a daily. So we go down there. I'm the primary officer. We try to place a call in there, have him come out. He doesn't, or no one answers and stuff. So, we had like three officers with us. So obviously, it's a concern. You hear somebody, of that nature. The possibility, obviously, of them having guns is concerned. So, I mean, we would obviously approach the house very cautiously and safely. But at the same time, we have to check on this gentleman too. So when we can't get a hold of him on the phone, some people would have just said, "Hey, you know what? Yeah, he's not there. Let's clear this." So yeah, you can do that, but I don't know. I think that's part of your job description is to go as far as you can to, I learned that from Sergeant Ryan Gill, who stresses that highly, is to go very much above and beyond you can for the citizens. He believes in that. I started taking that under my belt as well, even though I was doing that anyway. But I mean, the way Sergeant Gill talks and does things is on a whole nother level. He lives by that. So if you keep stuff like that in mind, you're gonna do a little bit more than just place a phone call to the person, and if they can't get a hold of them, you're gonna kind of cautiously walk up to the house and look around, like maybe he's outside in the back, and let's try to make contact with this guy. So I remember, a couple of us went to the back, the other one went to the sides and stuff. One rang the doorbell, no answer. But we ended up seeing him in the back room, and we knocked on the door, got his attention, and he was like kind of already standoffish. "Who's that?" And it was just like, "It's the police, it's the police." And we're just like, "Hey, yeah, we got a call. We just want to check on you, make sure you're okay." And um, I have to be honest, it was kind of a nerve-wracking type feeling because the look that he had in his eyes was really kind of strange. You just really didn't know. It was almost like a kind of a 1,000-mile stare, but he was curious too, like, why are these police officers out in front of my house? So we talked him a little bit through the door. He just seemed like he was kind of hesitant. "Why are you guys here?" Maybe thought that he was in trouble or something like that, which he definitely wasn't. We were trying to say, we just have to make sure you're okay. So finally, he comes out and he's sits on the porch, but he sits in a way that's like he's I can't even explain it, but he's ready to lunge if he needs to. If he says to himself, "Oh, these cops aren't friendly. They're here to take me in," or something. I don't know. He was ready to fight. And so we kept our distance, like, no, we just want to make sure you're okay. And some of his answers just weren't clear, that would make a police officer feel, yeah, this guy's fine. He wasn't all the way there. So finally, as we're talking to him, he's opening up just a little bit, gradually and all that stuff. And I felt I was getting this really good rapport with him, and I'm feeling good about myself. I really am, because I mean, I love Navy SEALs, man. I mean, imagine what these guys have to go through. One of my good friends is a former Navy SEAL, and just hearing his stories, I feel bad for the guy, because he struggled coming back into society too. And I think that's what was weighing in my head, is like, well, you know what? I saw what my former friend, Navy SEAL friend, had to go through. I don't want to just half do this. I really want to make sure this guy's okay. So I was really trying to talk to him, and I thought we were connecting. Then all of a sudden, I'm not going to mention the sergeant's name, but sergeant comes up. He's like, "Is there anybody else in the house?" "No, it's just him." It's like, "Okay, then we're done here." I'm just like, but he's talking. He's like, "Yeah, no, we're done. Let's clear the scene." And he's like, "Because I think we're gonna make him more mad than he needs to, and then we got a crazy situation and stuff." And okay, for liability purposes, and just kind of like to make sure that we weren't causing more problems than what we needed to, I understand that, obviously. And then obviously he's my superior officer, so yeah, he's my supervisor, so yeah, we have to break down the scene. And then we left. So but I could not sleep at all that night. I had this horrible feeling in my stomach. I just didn't feel like I did my job very well that day. Cops put a lot of pride in their product, and for me, I've gone so far from my little young rookie cop days to being out on my own and getting into all kinds of stupid situations and just kind of like I remember back when I first started out, man, and that was my joke. I would get in so much trouble doing stuff, not bad stuff, just kind of like forgetting, leaving my laptop, computer in the outside and stuff, and then one of the other supervisors finds it, and then I get in trouble, and then the next day I'll do the same thing or whatever, something like that, and then the same supervisor calls me in the office. He's like, "I don't even know what to say. I thought we fixed this yesterday." And so I was just stuff like that, poor decision making on some calls and stuff like that, but just being raw, hey. I came from a kind of like a Viking era type job description, man, where your job is to go out there and blast whoever you can and get that gold object out of their hand and grab it and take it and run the other direction. So there's not very many rules when it comes to that, just run and fight as hard as you can. So it's a little bit of a difference when you have to obviously slow things down, be very aware of everything because of the responsibility that comes with this job and all that stuff. But I would always make people laugh by saying, back in those days, I could literally walk from outside where we park our cars through the parking lot area where the cars are, through the sidewalks into the building, around the corner, down the stairs if I'm coming from that way, and then around into the sergeant's office with my eyes closed because it was always like, Shed, get your car ready and then come see me in my office. So thankfully, obviously, I outgrew all that stuff and turned things around and turned into a pretty dang good cop. But there's only one person who believes that, and that's just me. So anyway, but I did put a lot of pride in my product, and so I wanted to be there for this guy, and I wasn't. So later that night, I just was like, God dang, made me think about like, my other buddy, Navy SEAL buddy. I'm just like, I would have hated to see the police officers show up and him needing help, and that's what they did, is just kind of walk away, but really doing nothing. So the next morning, I rounded up a couple officers, and I got permission, obviously, from my supervisor at that time to go back down to that house. And one of the officers who went with us was a former serviceman himself. So I gave him the quick rundown, the situation. Everybody was just kind of like, kind of knew what the objective would be. Now we go down there, and if the guy just says F off, all right, then we're out. But just something seemed like it wasn't quite resolved. So we go down there. Again, we get his attention. He comes out, and he's a slightly different, and he's not as defiant this time, and it was a different type of a response that he kind of gave us. He comes back outside, and now he's not all scrunched down like somebody who's about to launch an attack. Now he's literally sitting down and just kind of like slumping a little bit, and then he's just like, my commanding officer called you guys, huh? And he's like, yeah, we just want to make sure you're okay. And I can remember the moment like it was yesterday. He tried to talk, he got choked up, and then he broke down crying. He was very upset because he had no money. He couldn't get hired anywhere just yet. The VA was not able to get his benefits to him, so he literally had no money, and he had his service dog or whatever. His dog was only thing with him, and he could not even get food or the last bit of food that he had, he gave to his dog. That's how rough this situation was. And just seeing this, and he was a gigantic dude anyway, just seeing this grown man with those type of muscles and just that much history in the world, break down in tears, just kind of just like broke me down. I'm so, oh my God, wow, we have to help this guy. And we told him, we said, dude, we got you. And just like that, we all broke off. We huddled right quick. Okay, how can we help him? One of us went to the station and rounded up from some of the other officers cash, and we were able to get him like $400 cash. One of the other officers went to the Davis Street Resource Center and got like it's a place where they have resources for families and stuff in need. He got our Navy SEAL guy like 3 bags of groceries with all the things you would need, cans of food for the dog, everything, just bread, everything that you could think of that could kind of get him going. And then the other officer reached out to a buddy of his who has connections to the VA to try to expedite whatever that was going on. And it was the best. We handed it to him. He cried again, but he was it was such an amazing moment. I can't even put it into words and stuff like that. He gave us hugs. We all shook each other's hands. We all looked at each other in the eyes and just said, "We got you, brother. You're gonna be just fine." And that's all this gentleman needed. Really, was that little bit of hug from his fellow citizens, and he never looked back. He was able to get all kinds of stuff going on. Nice job, all that stuff. I haven't seen him since that day, but I am 100% positive that he went on to do big things in this world. And, he has some great stories to tell his grandkids and stuff like that. And hopefully he'll remember police officers if someone tries to confront him with the idea that all cops are crap. Because I've was a cop for 20 plus years, and I don't remember anybody working with anyone whose number one objective was to go out there and cause harm to people. It just doesn't work like that. You don't spend 7+ months in the police academy getting your butt handed to you, both mentally and physically, and just getting broken down. It's paramilitary, so it's almost like it is like you're in boot camp. They try to tear you apart. They're cramming your head full of all the laws in the world. So much responsibility that comes with learning how to be a police officer, an efficient one at that. And then you have 17 weeks of field training when you leave, or that much for if you're in the county, and then so it's that much time in the jail before you go to the streets and stuff. So it's a lot that comes with it, and it takes, like they say, 4 to 5 years to even start feeling comfortable out there, because you haven't experienced everything in that short a time. So it takes about five or so plus years to really kind of come into your own. So no one's going to throw all that stuff away on purpose. Like that was their original plan, is to go and learn all this stuff, go through all that stuff just to cause harm out there in the streets. So I will fight anybody on that one, whoever tries to do that. But I know when cops make the wrong decisions and they do the wrong thing too as well. So I will definitely call them out. But I can tell you what, as long as we have police officers like Jeremy Rocha and some of the other officers who came in around that same time as Jeremy did, and who are unselfish, and they do everything they can with pride out there in the streets. There's no one's going to be the perfect police officer who does all the right things, and according to what the higher ups, I guess, would want. But everybody has their own styles, and they can only kind of do what they can do out there as safely as possible, as efficiently as possible, with all the good intentions that comes with that badge. People should be given, everybody who's a police officer, the benefit of the doubt until they show their true colors. And with that, I'm going to leave it here. But I'm so looking forward to you guys, joining me again on another episode and stuff like that. We have a lot of good things coming down the pipe. I want to get our guest list going again, and I've been in communication with some some of our listeners uh, via emails too. So that's a really good way to get a hold of me. I'm at kshedduncuffed at gmail.com. There's a bunch of stuff coming down the pipe. We got a project going on that I can't wait to tell you guys all about. But the city of San Leandro, get ready, y'all, because we're going to be shooting our film, Iowa's Finest, in about 3 months. And I want to use as many San Leandro citizens as I can to be a part of this film shoot. To be probably like 24 something days of shooting. You're going to know when you see us down there. We're gonna have some fun, and if we have anybody who has like any acting aspirations, call your boy up. Let me take care of you. Okay, that's what this is about. Our film group was created to take care of those who are out here in the Bay and doing everything they can to try to get exposure. Let's do this. I'm a movie making guy myself. I love it. It's a fantastic adventure, and it's only getting better as we go. But we can't do it without you guys and your guys' support. K-Shed is going to be heading on out with that, and we'll talk again soon.